So the first time I knew about Return of the Living Dead, The Return of the Living Dead, it was a Sunday, and I was going through the New York Times, the Sunday arts and leisure section, and I would go through it every Sunday just to look at like movie posters. I wasn't reading movie reviews at that point. I was really young, but I would definitely go through it to see, some really cool movie posters, like ads and stuff. And so there was this one particular ad one day. Um, it was in July, I believe, of that year of its release, Return's release, and it was a full page ad, and the New York Times is a big paper. So I was a small boy, so imagine like it just seemed giant size to me, and I saw this image that just immediately captured my attention. This big bold image, um, macabre image of zombies. But these weren't ordinary zombies. These were like punk rock zombies in a graveyard, and there was like a set of words and like spray painted into one of the gravestones, and it said "The Return of the Living Dead," and I'm like, wow. I was like nearly speechless, like seeing this awesome image of just immense horror. Like it definitely screams horror, but also screams like, of course, because they're punk rock zombies, like punk rock. It's just a hey, like we're gonna demand that you look at us type of image, and you're never gonna forget it. And I never forgot that great poster of the Return of the Living Dead. Easily one of the greatest posters of all time. And so, a few weeks later, maybe, I remember I saw the first commercial I ever saw of the Return of the Living Dead, and it just, again, just like the poster, it immediately seized my attention. And the one element more than anything else inside two elements that really just captured, my senses, at least my eyes and my ears. That was the music. Do you want to party? That great song. Um, and the Tarman. And I remember just when I first saw him, I was like really, really, I don't want to say scared, but definitely maybe a little bit scared. It was a really just like horrifying image, like seeing the Tar Man. Just, you don't see something like that every day on TV, particularly back then. And I never saw a zombie that looked like that. That looked that terrifying. That looks so much like the perfect, like I guess personification of like Death, the Grim Reaper. And his voice is ridiculously raspy, haunting voice, like more brains. Like I remember thinking about the Tar Man like that night, and even sometime afterwards, like when I was going to bed and just being really creeped out, having a really hard time going to sleep, thinking about the Tar Man. Like on one hand, I was like fearful of him, but at the same time, I was like really just like captivated by him, his look. One part intrigued, the other part just like scared, I guess. And I desperately want to see Return of the Living Dead. But when the time came and we were gonna go ahead, and we were at the theaters. We were at Sunrise Mall Theaters. It was the first multiplex I ever went to, and so we had a choice. Well, we really didn't have a choice. Like, we were trying to think of what movie to see, and my brother Kevin, he had suggested to see Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Now, I was interested in seeing Pee-wee's Big Adventure, but I wanted to see Return of the Living Dead a lot more because they both were playing at this multiplex. And my mom like immediately sided with Kevin. Pee Wee Herman, Pee Wee's Big Adventure was a much more child-friendly film, and my mom was like, "No, you cannot see The Return of the Living Dead under no uncertain terms." I was really upset. I really want to see that. Thought here was my chance, and even though I didn't have any chance of seeing this film at that age, such a small age. But yeah, yeah, we didn't see it, and I was upset with going into theater. But by the time Pee Wee started, and definitely by the time that Pee Wee ended, like I was thoroughly entertained. Like Pee Wee became one of my favorite films of all time. He became one of my favorite characters of all time. So no regret. Like I had an amazing time seeing Pee Wee, but still, like I still also want to see Return of the Living Dead as well. I didn't get my chance until 4 years later. So we had gotten cable for the first time, and I think it was the very first day or the very first weekend we had cable. And this was like towards the beginning of summer. I think I'm still going to school at this point, but school was almost done. It was that Friday night though. It was late Friday night going into Saturday night. There was no way I was going to be able to watch it because it was like really late at night. And so I made sure to set my VCR to record Return of the Living Dead. I was so excited to finally see this movie. And yeah, so when I woke up that Saturday morning, the first thing I did was watch the Return of the Living Dead along with my brothers. And I was just really like freaked the fuck out. That movie really did disturb me. Not to the point where it's like I never want to watch it again, but I was definitely like I don't know if any film ever did that to me. Now that I think about it, at least as a child. There were some films as an adult which I would never watch again for one reason or another, just going too far. Not so much for the graphic gore, but that's the discussion for another time. But yeah, just like I'd never seen anything like that though, like Return of the Living Dead. I think it was the first, no, it wasn't the first modern zombie I ever seen. It was a modern zombie film I ever seen. I had seen a modern zombie film the year before by seeing the second Return of the Living Dead. So, but this would be my second watching of a modern zombie film, because before that I had seen just like old school classic zombie stuff. From the ultra engaging opening to the ultra bleak but captivating end, like Return of the Living Dead, just after my first viewing, it instantly became one of my favorite films of all time. And at that moment I would have said hands down my favorite zombie film of all time by far. Later on there would be at least two films that would definitely take its place as my favorite zombie films of all time. But yeah, like Return of the Living Dead is my favorite non-Romero zombie film of all time. After Day of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead, I would say Return of the Living Dead is my third favorite. But and then again, I really love the first Night of the Living Dead as well. So the first Night of the Living Dead might be, I would say, tied with the first Return of the Living Dead, I would probably say. I love that film a lot too, but getting back to Return, I don't know, just, I guess where to begin, like, like seeing the Tarman, just like in, like, I guess full, watching view, I guess, not seeing him just in commercials. Like, he definitely makes an impression. He's not in the film very much, but he makes the most out of every minute, like, screen presence, the character, like, played, exceptionally well by Alan Troutman. Yeah, just like just really nightmare fuel type of stuff, the Tarman. And also one of the silver screen's first intelligent zombies. Just like the way how he just goes after Beverly Rudolph's character in the film, Tina, just the methods he used, like, yeah, there's definitely some serious brain power left in his rotting skull. I remember when I saw the Tarman's very first attack, I was like quite revolted, which is also cinema's very first like attack of like brain eating, brain devouring by zombie. When he goes ahead and assaults suicide by go ahead and literally biting into his skull. Even though you don't see the brain actually come out, you see bite his into his skull, but I'm not sure you see the brain matter come out. But still some really revolting stuff. Seeing that cadaver come alive for the first time inside the Unita warehouse, that's some very memorable stuff. The split dogs, like their cadavers coming to life, is really just some skin crawling stuff. Tom Matthews and James Cameron's reaction to what's going on in Unita Warehouse, and their reactions to everything else that happens in the movie is priceless. Like their chemistry is just is really, really good. It's fantastic. Definitely one of the best like duos like ever on screen. That definitely should be there should be a spotlight shine on them more of all-time best on-screen duos. They were so good that together they were asked to come back for our Return of the Living Dead 2. Not quite, their characters weren't quite as indelible, but they still were one of the best parts of that film, and that chemistry was still amazing. Clu Gallagher is also fantastic in the film as well. I became a Clu Gallagher fan because of this film. Like, I love how he's just so rough and gruff, but he isn't like I mean, he is kind of an asshole, but like he, in a way, just like this endearing quality about him where you still like the guy. Don Knopfler's Ernie is another character that I really like a lot in the film. He puts in an incredible performance as Ernie, probably my favorite Undertaker in any film. Overall, my favorite character in The Return of the Living Dead is Tarman, but my favorite human character in Return of the Living Dead is Spider, played exceptionally well by Miguel A. Nunez Jr. I think Spider is an awesome character. Once the character Suicide is unfortunately taken out early in the film by the Tarman, Spider becomes, I guess, the new leader of the group, and he does a great job of doing it by taking charge and kicking ass and saying some of the best one-liners in the film, or saying some of the best dialogue in the film. I love that moment where you know, after they have their encounter with the Tarman, they run into the graveyard and all rain-soaked in the cemetery, and they're standing underneath in front of, I think, a mausoleum. He's like, holy shit, we have to swim to get over there. And then you have that zombie goes, whoa. It's probably not the best job of replicating that sound. That sound is so creepy. And then Miguel's response, like, what the fuck is that? Like, I don't know. He just says, I don't know. Just his dialogue, you know, the way he delivers it is fantastic. You know, he has a very cool look to him. I love his swagger. He's just you know, one of the best characters. Miguel A. Nunez Jr. definitely had a great year in 1985 with performing memorable characters. He also was exceptionally awesome as Demon in Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. He's not in it much, but you know, he makes every single second count, from his ooh damn enchiladas moment in the film to his, I guess, duet with his girlfriend in the movie with the ooh. I don't think I should sing that. I'm not that great of a singer, but you know, those who've seen the film know what I'm talking about. And he just acted so well. He acted too good inside Friday. You could maybe make the argument, like, his death scene, like, wow, like, legitimately, that is some really compelling stuff. He just seems like in like actual fear in that moment when Jason is trying to get him, and then, like, you know, once that spike poke or whatever he has, that large, you know, thing, spear, just his reaction, like his last like death like scream, and then you just see the tears, you know, just in his eyes, and the way how he just, you know, falls down, his body collapses. And Miguel A. Nunez Jr., like, I've seen him in other stuff over the years, and he's a great actor, and ridiculously underrated, and he's easily one of the best parts of Return, or anything else he does, actually.
Ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh. Ooh, baby, ooh, baby, ooh.
Other actors in the film who made unforgettable contributions are Jules Shepard, John Philbin, Beverly Randolph, and Jonathan Terry, among others in the film. And one would definitely be remiss not to mention the massive contribution that the great Linnea Quigley made to this film. She is beyond awesome as the character Trash. Yeah, just her dance in the graveyard, that definitely is a scene that is eternally imprinted onto my consciousness. When first seeing that and going, yeah, when I first saw it. It was the first time I saw Linnea Quigley in any type of project, but it certainly wouldn't be the last. I would see her in numerous genre films throughout the years. One of my absolute favorite ones that I would see a few years later was Night of the Demons. Her character Trash is definitely one for the books, and not just for her famous dance scene, like for her fashion and for her presence, and just like, you know, some of the lines she says. And then when she comes back as one of the reanimated brain eating dead, the look that she has like is pretty haunting. The special effects and makeup in the film are top notch, with great work by Alan Apone, Robin L. Neal, Tony Gardner, Yvette Bliss, and William Munns. People use the word iconic a lot, but the zombie effects, the zombie makeup in Return of the Living Dead is truly iconic stuff. Ranks up there with the best from Romero, Fulci, and any of the other zombie filmmaking greats. The Return of the Living Dead is perfect on every cinematic front. One of the highest highlights of the film is its music. The spectacular score was composed by Matt Clifford and Francis Haynes. But Return of the Living Dead doesn't have just one great original soundtrack, a soundtrack filled with great music for the film. It also has another soundtrack of great songs that are also in the film. There are numerous classics on this album. I love listening to all of them, but particularly Burn the Flames and Party Time. The screenplay by the film's director, Dan O'Bannon, is unquestionably one of the finest scripts ever crafted. It works so well as a very effective horror film. Return of the Living Dead is certainly not a comedy. It's not a horror comedy, like in the same way as like Shaun of the Dead is. But there are definitely a number of great comedic moments in the film, like just some of the most blackest gallows humor around. That's actually really funny. Like, to me, like, you know, split your sides type of funny. Like, it's just absolutely hilarious. But as hilarious at times Return of the Living Dead is, it's still first and foremost a horror film, and it never lets you forget that, with some truly harrowing and ghastly set pieces. The script also has like multiple lines for the ages. It's just so much quotable stuff in Return of the Living Dead. Of course, the most famous line in the whole movie is brains, of course. But there are also a lot of great lines, like all throughout the movie. Great lines like, "Watch your tongue if you like this job, boy. Like this job." It's just, I don't know, just like that is, I don't know if other people think it's funny, but it's like towards the end, Clue Gallagher is on the phone like, "Give me the police. It's an emergency, operator." "Come in, dispatch. Send more paramedics." Or the one that follows it not long after, like, send more cops. It's just there's a lot of like lines in the film, like a lot of like funny lines, but a lot of like memorable lines too. I don't know, like just this film was just infinitely quotable. Close the motherfucking windows, man. Like, there's 100 of those things out there. 100? How are you gonna burn all those things, man? There's 100 of those fuckers. Yeah, I don't know. I can just keep going on and on and on about the many great lines in the film. Return of the Living Dead is just definitely like it's just legendary, just fully legendary. But Dan O'Bannon didn't just excel when it came to, you know, crafting the words. He also excelled when it came to crafting the scenes, directing the scenes, composing the scenes. Like, I don't know why he didn't direct more than he did. Maybe it was an issue of just like with most directors, just getting proper funding, you know, getting the green light for the for projects, which could be extremely difficult even for, you know, bankable directors. You know, the biggest of directors. I know he did one other film called, directed another film called The Resurrected. I think it came in 1990. And I never finished watching it. I remember watching it in my early teens, like the beginning of it on Cinemax. But I never even got close to finishing it. I think I may have got like maybe 20 minutes in. And I've been meaning like forever to get back to that. I need to finish that film because I heard The Resurrected is actually quite good. But yeah, he should have gotten more projects. Maybe he didn't want to do too many projects. I don't know what the story was with that, but he definitely was one of the all-time greats. Just based on directing Return of the Living Dead alone, like he has a very distinct vision, a very distinct way of shooting things, writing things. I mean, this is the same man who co-wrote Alien, so. You know, and he also, I believe, came up with at least the original script for Total Recall, and this other stuff as well that he was involved with, Dark Star. The man was unquestionably a creative genius, Dan O'Bannon, and it's definitely on full display in The Return of the Living Dead. Rest in peace, Mr. Bannon. The Return of the Living Dead is a film that I've seen more times than I can count. I can't even. I've lost count. It's definitely up there with like the films I've seen the most in my life, like in terms of just viewing them. And I never get tired of it. Never, ever, ever. It's one of those films like I could watch every day, and I would never get tired of it. It's unquestionably one of my very, 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 very favorite films of all time. Over the years, it has gone from, you know, a cult fave to a major horror film classic, spawning one of the most famous like catchphrases of all time, brains. And you know, the funny thing is, the irony is that a lot of people think that brains comes from the Romero trilogy, the Dead trilogy, and that they were somewhere in the Romero films. Like, no, Romero started a lot of stuff or refined a lot of stuff, but this was one area that Romero didn't have anything to do with. The brains, you know, line comes from The Return of the Living Dead, which was based on a book actually by Romero's former creative partner, John Russo, who was also a writer on Night of the Living Dead, and was one of the members of Image 10 who funded the film. And John Russo wrote a book, I believe it came in 78, and I read it years ago, and it's completely different from the movie. Like it's more in vein of the original Night of the Living Dead. It actually was a sequel to the original Night of the Living Dead. You know, Romero had his own set of sequels, and Russo had his own set of sequels, but that's a kind of a bit of a long, complex story with, you know, how each creator took the Night of the Living Dead, you know, mythology into different directions. Romero did with his, Russo did it with his own. Russo's book was very small scale. I think it took place maybe a decade after Night of the Living Dead, and it was a world in which the zombie apocalypse was still ongoing, but it was like manageable. It wasn't so much an apocalypse, it's more like people grew accustomed to zombies. It's like, here was this new threat, but if you knew what to do, you could have it under control. Mankind was still in charge of the earth, but here was this new annoyance, well, not new annoyance, but I guess among other annoyances that's always plagued man. Now we have zombies, been dealing with them for like a decade or so, and I don't really remember too much else about the book, besides a few scenes here and there, but it was very small scale, old-fashioned, well, maybe not old-fashioned, but Romero zombies, slow, stumbling zombies, none of the fast stuff. And then they were thinking about doing it, well, they were preparing an adaptation of it, I think in the early 80s. Originally, Tobe Hooper was attached to the project. I don't know his version, how close it adhered to Russo's book. But then at some point, Tobe Hooper left the project, one way or another, and Dan O'Bannon came in and he did a full, like, top to bottom script rewrite. There is nothing the same at all with Dan O'Bannon's version and Russo's version. The only thing they have in common is the title. The zombies are completely different. Everything is completely different. No characters, no nothing. And it would have been like fascinating how history would have went had Russo's version of the book was, faithfully translated to screen, or even halfway translated to screen. But alas, it was not to be. And I still would like to see a film version of the book, because I thought the book was solid. But I'm glad we got the version that we got. Dan O'Bannon's Return of the Living Dead is a full-blown masterpiece. You can't talk about this film enough. And it spawned, two pretty good sequels, even though it did spawn two other sequels past the first three. Past the first two. But Return of the Dead Part 4 and 5 are not worth talking about. They are not good movies. So I'll just leave it at that for now. Return of the Living Dead 3 is... I have a ton of love for that film, and we'll talk about it at some point. Return of the Living Dead 3, most definitely. But going back to the first one, Return of the Living Dead, The Return of the Living Dead. If you haven't seen it, see it, because it's absolutely a must-see. And if you have already seen it, of course, make a return again and again and again to The Return of the Living Dead, because you cannot return to that film enough. It is brilliant.